Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and if you've watched both Campaign 1 of Critical Role and The Legend of Vox Machina, the animated series, you would know they've changed a few things for the story purposes to make it better or more streamlined, and this got me thinking about what they would do for the Mighty Nein Animated Series when it comes out. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. The changes I think they should make for the Mighty Nein Animated Series to streamline it, make it simpler, or overall just make it a little bit better. And before we get into the video proper, this obviously comes with minor spoilers and major spoilers. I'll just be honest and say spoilers in general for Campaign 2. So if you haven't watched Campaign 2 yet and don't want it spoiled, now's your chance to click off the video, go watch it, and come back whenever you finish that up. The first change I think they should make is they should include Session 0 in Episode 1, or maybe even Episode 1 and 2, so we can see what they were doing before they came together as a group, and to see what the dynamic was like before for each group, as they were separated into 3 teams. Caleb and Not, Jester, Bo, and Ford were another group, and then obviously Yasha and Molly were with the circus. And I think it'd be really cool for us to see what they were doing before they came together as one big group, and the circus went to shit in the first episode of Campaign 2. So I think it'd be really fun for us to see this, because they do reference it a handful of times throughout the campaign, what happens, especially with Bo. Like, Bo has a few references to it a handful of times throughout the campaign. So I think it'd be really cool for us to actually see it. And it would be very much like the first 2 episodes of The Legend of Vox Machina, where we got to see them fight Brimscythe, which led into the Chroma Conclave arc. I think it'd be really cool for us to see a Session 0, especially because, you know, maybe they could put some nods into things that, like, they didn't have all their accents figured out properly yet. So I think that would be kind of funny, especially Ford. I think Ford trying to figure out his accent would be funny and extremely in character for eventual revealed down the line. Much like Campaign 1, Campaign 2 was stricken with the blind spot curse for at least the first, I think, half. And that would mean every once in a while Matt would have to write off Yasha. So this big change for me should be, don't do that at all. Don't get rid of Ashley and Yasha at all throughout any of this stuff until Oban takes over her mind. I think that is the best way to sort of build up the character a lot more than what we got initially, and it'll be a lot more fun. They've done this with Pike, so I do think that they'll do it with Yasha. I just really hope they, like, remove her less. Like, it is absolutely 0 until the Oban incident. I think that would be a lot more fun. We get to see a lot more of Yasha. We get to hear a lot more of Ashley. And to me, that just makes way more sense than getting rid of her every once in a while. Especially after when a certain character dies, we'll get to see more of her and how she reacts to it instead of how she just leaves. So I think it'd be a lot better for Yasha to stick around, be part of the party, especially during emotional moments like that, so we get to see how she handles things, and it'll improve how relationships grow for the character. So I think overall, keeping her around until the Oban incident is the best choice here. To piggyback off Yasha and Oban, and the next change I think we should make is seeing Yasha's perspective of her being mind controlled by Oban. I think it'd be really fun for us to see the sort of gruesome acts that she has to perform, and leading up to when she interacts with the party on 2 separate occasions while under his control. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to see what she has to go through, and her attempting to break free of the control, or her just succumbing to it altogether, and, you know, sort of juxtaposing that to flashbacks of back when Oban first had her under his control would be a lot of fun for us to see as well. It'd give us more Yasha backstory, and, you know, be really fun and really twisted to see the kind of shit that she has to do while under this guy's control. And yet another piggyback off of forced or new perspectives, I think it'd be really fun for us to see the perspective of Yasha, Ford, and Jester when they get taken by Lorenzo and the Iron Shepherds. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to see what they experience, potentially even seeing the fight from inside the crates that happens where Molly Mock tragically dies. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to see their perspective, to see the kind of crap they go through, and why, like, when they eventually get there, breaking them out of their chains isn't going to be very helpful, because they've been put through a lot of shit and they're not in the greatest space. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to see that. It would develop Jester and Ford's relationship a lot, for them coming together and being stronger. It would give us a bit more of why Molly Mock's death is extremely painful for Yasha, because this whole time she's been waiting for Molly to potentially show up and save them, and then he is the only one not to show up because he's gone. I think that'd be really cool for them to constantly say Molly will come, or for Yasha to say Molly will come, and then Molly's not the one there. And it would be really cool for us to see, like, how heartbroken she is when it's Caduceus that's there and is, like, the one trying to comfort her. I think it'd be really like tragic and really cool to see. I really just like the idea of adding new perspectives, because this is a new medium that we get to see, especially because those players weren't at the table at all for various reasons, children and blind spot. So I think it'd be really cool for us to see this new perspective, especially because it'll add to a lot more character stuff. And I think it'll make Jester and Ford's relationship, when it eventually comes to fruition, a lot stronger in the show. And the last change I think would be a fun one to have would be the inclusion of more redheaded guides around the entire background of every scene, or not every scene, but in at least one scene every episode, to represent the Traveler being by Jester's side. Matt said during the campaign 2 wrap-up that he initially had planned the Traveler to show up a lot more often in disguise and sort of guide Jester and the other players in the direction that leads to their success more often. But he elected to change this just because it'd be a lot easier for him to not do that constantly. He did do it once while they were looking for Caduceus, and this character pointed them in the direction of Caduceus, but that was the only time he ever did it, and I think it'd be a lot cooler for there to just be random redheaded people walking around making sure Jester's okay, or making sure the group is doing the right thing. Like, one example would be in the first episode, when they're at a bar, a redheaded waiter or waitress comes by and makes sure that Jester has enough water, and she doesn't care about the rest of the people at the table. I think that'd be great and hilarious, and more of that throughout the entire show would be really fun, and to show that the Traveler has a huge connection to Jester. And for those who are in the know, they understand who that is, and for those who don't, they get to eventually experience the reveal. And when the reveal happens, we'll get to go back and look, oh my god, he's been there the whole time. I think that'd be really cool and really fun. And yeah, I just think it'd be an excellent change that they could add. And in the animation medium, it would be a perfect thing to go back for and look through minor Easter eggs and be like, holy shit, that was an Easter egg all along. And there you have it. The changes that I think they should make to the animated Mighty Nein series. I did initially have remove minor fights from this shit, but obviously that was already going to happen. They removed minor fights from the first campaign as well, so that I felt like that was kind of redundant to just have in the script. So I removed it and added a different one. But I like most of the things that I added. I think Session 0 would be a really fun thing for them to explore, at least for the first episode, and then to have them sort of meet at the end of the first episode or even at the beginning of the second. And then, obviously, I think Yasha sticking around for the most part is going to be like the biggest change and possibly the biggest hurdle that I presented here, because it would be a huge change to have Yasha around in certain places. Like, fights would be completely different if she was around. Certain interactions would be completely different because she'd be able to stand behind somebody and intimidate somebody better. So I think that having her will change a few things, but I think for the long run of the show, having Ashley be around is a lot better. It really sucks that Blind Spot also seemingly affects a tiny bit of the animated series, because they are trying to follow it really well and being a good adaptation of what they made before. But I think a change like that is huge. They did it with Pike, so I think they're going to do it again. But they did remove Pike for a little while and gave her a little sub-story. Don't do that. I want Yasha to be there, and then the sub-story is the Oban thing. So I think that would be a lot more fun for us to see as the audience, as opposed to her going off on her own and eventually cutting away from the overall story to seeing something like that, as opposed to us cutting to Yasha, who is a part of the overall story, but we didn't get to see it before. I think that would be a lot cooler, just personally. So yeah, fun video to make. I'm super excited for the animated Mighty Nein series to eventually come. That is not for years, though. We still have season 3 of the Vox Machina show, and then probably another year until the Mighty Nein show, and that's if they're not doing a season 4 of the Legend of Vox Machina show. So we're still a ways off from the Mighty Nein, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. So yeah, tell me what you think they should change down below, and if you aren't already, subscribe. Hi, I make videos at least twice a week. One random video about Critical Role, and I recap Critical Role, the campaign. Jeez, I'm bad at outros. So yeah, subscribe, like the video if you did. Tell me what you think should be changed down below. Peace.